back to Cinema Corner. I'm Blake. I'm here with my co-hosts, Alex and Josh.
Welcome to Cinema Tasks, where we talk about the movies that we were assigned last time. Last time I was assigned Dredd from Josh. I assigned someone. I can't remember at the moment. I'm blanking. I apologize. Who wants to just say what they got assigned just to make it easier?
You gave me There Will Be Blood.
That's right. That is right.
And Blake gave me The Gorge.
I did.
Oh, that's what it was.
I was wondering. That's why I didn't say anything after I said my movie.
I got you. I got you.
That means I gave Josh a movie, but I can't remember what.
Hey, that's how it be sometimes. It's been a while. It's a little over a month this time, but it is time to review those movies. Gentlemen, who would like to go first?
Alex.
I can go since Josh is just going to force Alex to go.
That's insane.
Yeah, tired of. I'm not going to be a bystander anymore. So as I just said, Alex gave me There Will Be Blood, Paul Thomas Anderson's movie from 2008, potentially 2007. This movie stars Daniel Day-Lewis and a young Paul Dano. I say young; he's probably early 20s at this point, I would say. This was my first Paul Thomas Anderson movie that I have ever seen, and then since I have seen One Battle After Another, as anybody who's a follower of the channel knows, as we just did a review on that last week. But all being said, I did not really know anything going into this movie. Obviously, I knew that this was the movie that two iconic scenes are from. Anytime you see like on TikTok, like best acting performances, you're gonna see the I've abandoned my child, I've abandoned my boy. And then also the I drink your milkshake scene is another pretty iconic scene that I feel like a lot of people who, like me, you never seen the movie. You've at least seen that scene. You may not know what it was from, but you've seen it. Just a quick little rundown. Obviously, this is a, over 15-year-old movie now at this point. So, and it's highly, highly rated for everything. But essentially, it just follows Daniel Day-Lewis plays a character, Daniel Plainview, one of those two words for his last name. It follows him as his journey of basically becoming like an oil tycoon, but he also still works on the oil fields as well. This movie does cover a couple of years, or like a couple spans a little bit, but it primarily takes place in the same. So it pretty much opens in like 1898. And basically you see Daniel Day-Lewis. I think the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie, there's no talking at all. It's literally him in the bottom of like a hole that's just dug down with stairs of him just like mining, and then he like blows up part of it, and then he goes down the ladder and part of it breaks and he falls, and he clearly breaks his leg, but he like grabs a piece of the rock and you can see there's a little bit of gold, and then he gets himself out of this hole with his broken leg, like pulling himself up of like there's like a bucket that goes down there with his tools that has like a rope. He like pulls himself all the way up, and then he basically scoots his way. You don't see a lot of this part, the scooting, but he scoots his way all the way into town, like on the ground, just dragging himself. And he gets like a deal, and then it skips 4 years after that, I believe. I think it's like 1902, very early 19 something. And you see that he's been working on putting an oil well there. And there's a baby on site just chilling with a bunch of the guys working. One of the guys is down, or the guy's holding the baby, whatever. Daniel Day-Lewis comes up, they're like trying to show him this baby. He's just like, okay, whatever, man. Guy goes down there, he's working in the little thing. Something happens, it comes down, kills him. He's dead. So Daniel Day-Lewis just like picks up the baby. And then we cut, I want to say probably 10-ish years. I want to say then at this point we take place at like early 1910s. And once we get to this year, it pretty much is the rest of the movie is in this time period. But the kid's like 12 or so, and then you see them on a train. He goes in, he gives this whole speech to a bunch of people about like, oh, I'm an oil man. It's a family business. Like, this is my son here. Everything we do together. If you want to give me money, I can put up wells. I'm very versed at this. I know how to do it. I actually do the work. Like, I'm better than other people for that, whatever. And so then this lady's like, hey, where's his mom? And he's like, she's dead. She died in childbirth. Don't talk about it. It's like, okay. And then, so then you basically see him just becoming like an oil tycoon, essentially, of doing a bunch of putting up wells and finding oil and so forth. And he just continues to grow his operation and is worth a bunch of money. And then Paul Dano shows up to his little headquarters. He's like, hey, man, I got my property, my dad's property. There's oil there. There's for sure oil there. There's a big oil company that's buying a bunch of the land around because they know there's oil there. But my dad doesn't know there's oil, so you could go there and finesse him and buy the land. And he's like, basically, he's like, yo, I know where oil. And they have this little like, scene of him being like, I'm not stupid. I'm not telling where it is. Give me some money. And so Daniel's like, hey, I'll give you $500. If there's oil, I'll come back to you and give you another like $1,000, whatever. So he tells him where it is. It's in California. That sounds right. He goes over, goes to the farm with like his son, and like is like, oh, me and my son are just here hunting for quail. Like, can we camp here? We heard like we could camp near your house. And the dad's like, yeah, you guys can camp here. And he's like, oh, do you have kids? He's like, yeah, we got like 3 daughters and got my son. And he's like, oh, if you wouldn't mind, like, we're just going to camp here for the night. And he's like, yeah, my son can bring you some wood for a fire. And then Paul Dano walks over with the firewood, and you're like, wait a minute. Paul Dano said he was taking the money and leaving. Why is he here? But Paul Dano mentioned he has a brother, so they, like, Daniel and his, like, son look at each other when, like, the son comes over and, like, gives them the wood. And they're just, like, staring at each other like, wait a minute, is this the kid we talked to? Or is this someone else? What's happening? And it's kind of like, what? And so then they are the Sunday family, and they're big holy people, and especially Paul Dano's character. You do eventually find out that it is a twin, which like wasn't like a huge twist kind of thing. It was just like in the moment, it was kind of like a funny thing of like the characters were looking at each other, and you're also just like side-eyeing like, wait a minute, is this him or not? It's like Elijah and Eli, I think, are the twin boys' names of Paul Dano. You don't see that first twin. You don't see him again now. But now I think Eli's the main one who kind of becomes like the antagonist of this. He's basically like, oh, he's a big church boy. He wants a church here. And so like Paul Dano goes out with his son. They're acting like they're hunting for quails, whatever. They end up coming across like where there's oil coming up from the ground. So he's like, oh shit, there's oil here. So then he like goes back to the family. He's like, what'd you say about me buying the land here? Me and my son just love the pheasants out here. And the dad's like, oh, maybe I could do it. And he's like, I'll give you like $3,500 or something for all your land. And then Paul Dano's like, what about all the oil? And Daniel's like, what do you mean, man? I don't know about oil. And he's like, there's oil on this land for sure. Like, I know there is. Daniel's like, well, it just so happens I know about oil. So, like, you still have to have someone, like, build it and get it out of the ground. And that's hard to do. And you have to have connections. It's a lot of money. And so Paul Dano's like, give us $10,000. And he's like, whoa, I don't know about all that. He ends up buying it. He buys the property. Paul Dano's just like, and also you need to give me a bunch of money for my church. He's got a weird couple girls who follow him around, like older women who follow him around. He's like a preacher or some shit. Yada, yada, yada. There's a lot in this movie. It's a long movie. Okay, I'm going to cut myself off here because we're like an hour 15 in this movie, maybe. Okay, there's a lot in this movie. Essentially, we'll just hit the real big highlights. One of the Sunday daughters, his Daniel's son, I think it's Daniel Jr. potentially even, was like, he likes her. They're like 12 years old, whatever. So like he puts up the main oil, and Paul Dano's like, hey, I'm going to do a blessing for your rig before you like open it. Cause like Paul Dano or Daniel's character was like made a big thing to like the public, like, oh, this is a public thing, whatever. Like, come see the opening of the oil rig. Paul Dano's like, yo, I'm gonna bless this shit. Like, introduce me as blah, blah, blah. And like Daniel's like, the fuck? So then like when he goes to bless it, he's like, oh, and I want to pull up Mary, which is Paul's Dano's sister. He's like, Mary Sunday, this well's going to be named after Mary. And she's like, blah, blah. And so he just completely dunks on Paul Dano, who thinks like he's going to get a big introduction. He's like, nah, this is named after your sister. She's dope. All right, we're going to start this thing. So then Paul Dano makes a big deal about, like, you didn't let me bless the well. So then eventually little Daniel's looking at the well bursts, and he was like looking over, like on top of it kind of. And it bursts and like the air and stuff. All of a sudden the kid, he like gets concussed and like everything gets all fuzzy. Daniel comes up, like grabs his son, like takes him back, and the kid's like, I can't hear. Kid's deaf from the explosion. Okay. So now Daniel's all pissed because he's like, yo, my son's deaf. What do I do? Like, this is like the 1900s. So he's like, this kid sucks now. Like, everything's over. So he doesn't really like his son. When Paul Dano comes over, is like, if you would have let me bless the well, this wouldn't happen. So Daniel Day-Lewis just beats the shit out of him in like the oil. He's like, you're a preacher. If you can fix things, like you say you can fix things, fix my son's hearing. Why can't he hear then? Just starts beating him up and like almost drowns him in oil. It's kind of funny. So he just like slaps him around a little bit. It's like, get out of here. So then this random dude shows up. He's like, yo, I'm your long lost brother to Daniel. He's like, holy shit, I've always wanted a brother. The little kid, this is where it gets weird. The little kid like reads a journal. And then while they're sleeping, he like tries to light the house on fire with his dad and his brother in it. And it's like, what the hell? So then, like the dad comes out and like yells at his kid. Obviously the kid can't hear. And he's like, fuck it. We're sending him down to like San Francisco. He's going to go to a new teacher. Maybe they'll fix his hearing. So he like gets on like a train with his kid. He's like, oh, give me one moment. I have to go do something. Just gets off the train. Train starts leaving. Kid's freaking out because his dad just abandoned him. That'll happen. So then he's like, oh, me and my new brother, we're going to go all the way out to the California coast to like show where the oil is going to like come out for water or something. Along the way, he finds out this guy isn't actually his brother. Him and his brother were friends, but his brother died. So this guy took all the memories of his brother and his brother's journal and was just acting to be Daniel's brother because he's super rich. So then Daniel kills him when he learns that he's not actually his brother. He's like, yo, you're just trying to use me. So he kills him. And then a farmer sees them like murder happen. So like when Daniel wakes up, the guy's like, hey, I'll sell you part of my property that he needs like to finish like his whole oil well thing. He's like, I'll sell you part of my property, but you got to go to church. And that's when he goes to church where Paul Dano is. And that's when Paul Dano was, you know, he got slapped around at the oil field. He kind of slaps Daniel Day-Lewis around and he makes him do his whole confession thing in front of everybody. He's like, now say you're a sinner. And says, I'm a sinner. And he's like, I'll say you've abandoned your child. And he's like, I abandoned my child. He's like, no, say it in church. They're slapping him around to get like revenge for the whole oil field fight. And so that's when Daniel does his whole like, I've abandoned my son, abandoned my boy. And he like dunks a bunch of water to like baptize him, whatever. And then it's funny because he like stands up and it's unaudible, but you can clearly tell what Daniel's saying. He's clearly saying something along the lines of, I'm going to fucking kill you. As like everybody in church is like clapping for him as he's talking to Paul Dano. So it's kind of funny. Whatever. Son ends up coming back. He's still deaf. He tries to like rekindle. Daniel's like trying to rekindle like, oh look, my son, like everything's all good, like we're all happy now. Brandon, we kind of skip after that point to like 20 years later. Daniel is just an insane old man now in his house, like shooting in this big ass mansion, just shooting his guns at shit. His son comes and he's like, hey dad, I'm moving to Mexico. Me and my wife, who you learn from earlier in the movie, is Mary, the one who the thing is after. She ends up like learning sign language once he comes back, and so like they have like a quick little wedding scene where she's signing their like vows. It's cute. He's like, I'm going to Mexico to start my own oil company, and Daniel's like, yo, you're not my competition. Like I fuck my competition. I hate him. Like you suck. And like he has a little interpreter signing. And so he starts making fun of the interpreter, like, fuck this guy, talk to me, you're my son, like, say something to me. And his son, like, finally, like, kind of talks and, like, kind of broken because he's been deaf for a long time. And then Daniel just drops a bomb on him, like, you know what, you're a fucking bastard, all right? You're not even my actual son. I just used you because I needed a cute little face to make people do business deals with me. Like, fuck you, you're not my son. And he starts, what is he? Basket bastard baby is what he just started calling him a bunch. Because he just had him in a little basket. He just starts yelling at him. Basket bastard baby. It's like, what the hell? So his son dips, and then Daniel's downstairs bowling, and then Paul Dano comes back, and he's like, hey man, I'm here to like, let's talk, buddy. We're friends. And Daniel's like, fuck you, man. You were my enemy. I killed you. Like, I dominated you. I took your oil field. I took your shit. Let's say you have a milkshake. I have a milkshake. My milkshake comes over. I drink your milkshake, talking shit to him. So he's just talking shit like, bro, I hate you. And then Paul Dano's like, no, that's not true. Daniel just throws a bowling ball like at him as he's like kind of running, and he's like dodging them because they're on the ground. And then Daniel just picks up a bowling pin and just beats Paul Dano to death. How the movie ends, essentially.
What the fuck?
Pretty nuts.
God damn.
What the hell?
Well,
yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, there was a lot in this movie. That review went a lot longer than it should have, probably. But
Jesus.
there's so much stuff that it's tough to explain this movie, which I guess I don't really need to do.
No, that was like
It's
3
tough to
different
explain
plots.
small. Yeah, there's a lot that happens in this
happens.
movie.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it was
there's a lot going
there will
on.
be blood.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. He just starts beating with a bowling pin. But yeah, so this movie was a wild ride for sure. Like I said, it was like 2 hours 45 minutes or something like that. So it's a pretty long movie. It's definitely, I mean, there's a reason that this movie is like up there for everything in terms of like greatest movies of all time, and definitely acting performances. Like, I'll 100% say in terms of movies, not TV show shit, this was easily the greatest acting I've ever seen. Like, Daniel Day-Lewis was unbelievable. The entire movie, all in all, like the way it was shot, like how well the time period was, like this movie really is. There's a reason that it's up there for everything that you see when people talk about great movies. So, yeah, I mean, my big gripe was the son. It was kind of weird. Like, once he went deaf, like the whole of him trying to like burn their house, like you don't fully understand why. And then like the son was like chill for the most part, and like once he went deaf, he like kind of turned into like a little bit of a bitch doing things. I was kind of just like, all of a sudden this kid kind of sucks, and it was just like very random. And so that part was definitely like a big letdown to me of like, why is this kid just sucking all of a sudden? Like, I don't know. It was kind of strange. But that was honestly like my big gripe of this movie overall. I mean, it was a phenomenal movie. In terms of rating, honestly, this was a tough one to rate because it's like, it's like, do you rate it on how good it was or how much you liked it? But then it's so good, it's like, why do you not like it more? So it's a very weird thing for me to rate. Like, I can say objectively, this is the best movie I've ever seen. Like, in terms of like acting, story, everything going on, it was phenomenal. But like, for some reason, some things like that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that I can't say it's like the greatest movie ever in my favorites kind of thing. So just trying to put that to a side, like just rating, this is like a 9.5, I would say, just in terms of like, this movie is objectively like it's a masterclass in terms of the way it was shot, it was directed, written, acted. Like, everybody who was in this movie acting wise was great. Like, it was a phenomenal movie.
Hell yeah.
Holy shit. Is that in your top
Hell
10
yeah.
now?
See, that's the thing. Top 10 favorite movies? I don't think so. It's not.
See, yeah, and I completely understand what you're trying to say. It's like you can
Right,
acknowledge,
like, it's tough to
like,
it's
the
tough to give me
pedigree
like a
that it is.
9.5. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, in terms of like your personal favorites, like you'll pop it in, watch it all the time, it's probably not going to be up there. But like,
Right. Am I
yeah.
going to rewatch it anytime soon? Probably not. But like, objectively, if someone says what's the best movie, not my favorite best movie, like, this is going to be in the top 3 that I name for sure. It's a phenomenal movie. It's just, I don't know how much I'm going to rewatch it. And like, obviously there's other movies out there. Like 21 Jump Street is not a better movie. It's one of my favorite movies. I would list it above this in favorites. But obviously from a pure like cinematic standpoint, it doesn't stand close to it.
That's fair. That's fair. Josh, want to go next, or should I?
Yeah, I'll go. Blake gave me The Gorge, which came out this year in February. And, you know, the only thing I knew about this movie was I already had, this is kind of a classic of, you know, was interested in it, was probably never going to actually watch it on my own. But mainly it was influenced by the fact that it doesn't actually have that good of reviews for having kind of a, I don't want to say necessarily star cast, as a star trio with Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy and Sigourney Weaver in it, which that was a surprise. Awesome, always have her in it. And I remember TikTok when it came out, just some reason, was some hating ass bitches on this film. They were, and I think this film suffers what I think a lot of streaming service movies suffer from, is some reason they just get graded on a harsher scale than normal movies. And that's what this movie really made me understand and solidify that opinion, because I really enjoyed it. Dude, I mean, you got a star trio. It wasn't an overfilled cast. It kind of also has a mystery flavor of it. It's a I mean, you also got a nice romance brewing between Miles Teller's character, Levi, and then Drasa. That was always kind of fun, and they were just had some great chemistry between the two. And then you got kind of a sci-fi mystery going on with what the fuck is the Gorge. Kind of start off the film. It really makes you feel like you're gonna have like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith type vibe maybe happening. It shows both them being skilled, basically sharpshooters or assassins, and then they get both kind of assigned to two opposite towers of this big, just, you know, the gorge of a rift in the land, right? And so it kind of makes it seem like, oh, this is where the tension's going to be. It's going to be a mystery of who's the other person. Maybe they might fight each other. And then I fully was expecting this kind of just be that kind of like, you know, maybe enemies to lovers type situation going on. Because that's all the first kind of 20 minutes of the film is fully setting that up. And then it takes kind of a big turn immediately when you start seeing all these turrets and mines and shit on the fences, but the turrets aren't looking at the other towers, they're looking inside the gorge, and you're like, okay, what the hell? And the first night, basically what happens, they get tasked basically to stay at these towers away from any communication from the world, and all they know about it is what their predecessor tells them, and that's it. And their predecessor leaves, so they have to just trust, and then basically it's a long game of telephone, and they even joke about that fact of they don't know what's true. All you know is you can't talk to the person across from you in the other tower, and you are going to live there for a whole year in isolation, and that's it. With a shit ton of guns, shit ton of ammo, gardens, all that shit. You just live there, and you just check in every once in a while. First night comes in, and it is like a combination of like The Last of Us and every zombie you've ever known in your life, but on steroids. Starts climbing up these walls, and you quickly learn, okay, this isn't some like enemies to lover thing. This is a zombie film, basically. And that makes it so much fun. I fucking love zombie films. Just love them. And especially when you kind of giving me this twist where I really wasn't fully expecting that. Obviously, I had no context of this film besides what people just hating on it. So maybe that was way more known than I should have. But yeah, it just goes hard. And the action immediately, it shows you that Apple was not short on the budget for this film. It looks crazy good immediately. The CGI was awesome straight off the bat. So it makes you super excited for what the fuck's about to happen in this film. Also, I find it very strange that the last movie that I watched, Annihilation, basically almost had the same kind of enemy type.
That's what I said when you when you were doing that review at the end. I was like, I might need to change my movie because that sounds similar.
It was so funny because they review kind of like, oh shit, like he finds out that the beasts that they're fighting are just anything that's landed in the gorge, and about the history of the Predator tells them that it was a battalion, and they see their names on it. And yeah, they just combined with nature, and they're getting influence from the DNA. It's straight up just Annihilation for that, but with its own twist of it being more aggressive than a slow burn. Now, even with me just seeing that movie, I still was loving it. It was fun. Also, man, come on. I mean, I think the chemistry between Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy was so good on screen that you immediately were just okay with the fact that these two are having this kind of romance between each other, and then eventually, you know, they become a couple, fall in love. And it was fun. Their interactions were cute and just whimsical, and also realistic too, of like, yeah, why wouldn't you try to communicate with the other side when you're literally have snipers and everything's aiming at each other and you have no idea what the fuck's going on other than just a game of trust of your predecessor. Either way, they have a very stereotypical zombie-esque like film where something bad has to happen, and of course one of the main characters are going to get trapped that forces a battle with the zombies. That's like, and Miles Teller's character Levi falls into the gorge, and that's when he kind of quickly learned the lore. I think that is right there maybe the only thing that you can say you can have a gripe with this film is its runtime kind of goes against it, because you can tell, even with Sigourney Weaver's like character, they revealed that this actually isn't owned by the military anymore. They weren't working for the military. It ends up getting revealed that it's just some corporation overlords that are just trying to get rich and basically win the arms race in the corporate world. Kind of that storyline gets rushed with the fact this is only a 2-hour movie. And so they already spent a lot of the beginning of the movie having that mystery element of surprising you that it isn't just about your opposite on the other tower. So I think that's the only thing I can see of maybe why people dislike this. But I truly, just throughout the entire film, I mean, the action scenes, all of them are really good. They have some fun camera angles too when they're fighting back to back with each other. There's really no cheesy moments even with the battles. They have also fun with cavalry. So you're seeing a mix of an upgraded old-timey soldier fighting against the modern elite sniper warrior. And you see them with calves just on their horses, just dragging them by the rope. They catch their feet. That's super fucking cool. The action was just fucking awesome in this film. And it looked amazing. Acting was great. I really don't get why it was hated so much, other than maybe it was just a little rushed. And it also had a bit of a, Christian Bale's Batman at the end that he shows up at the dinner table. He's not actually dead. That was a moment. Because they teased that he was possibly Levi didn't make it in the end. It was a fun film. I genuinely recommend anybody, if you got Apple TV, you should definitely give this movie a shot. It's definitely way better than Rotten Tomatoes' 62%. I think that's crazy. I don't know why people are hating so much on it. For me, I gave it a solid 8 out of 10. I think it was fun. Had a good time the entire time. And yeah, I really got not much more I can say about it. I don't know why I was hated so much.
I'm glad because I watched this movie like pretty quickly to when it came out because I do love Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, so I'm like, shit, this is right down my alley. And I thought it was a really good movie. I loved that movie, and I saw the reviews. I'm like, am I just a slut for these two actors? Like, what's the issue? So I'm glad somebody else has a similar opinion as me.
I was shocked when I saw the reviews. It was that bad. I looked again after watching, and I was like, wow, why?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I don't see a whole lot of things that people can complain about. I really enjoyed that movie a lot, so I'm glad somebody else agreed.
Okay, well, that leaves the final one. Josh gave me Dredd. This would be the remake, so, the first one I believe was with Stallone. This one was with Karl Urban, which is crazy because he never takes off the helmet. We never see Karl Urban's face. We only see, like, this part of his face and below. And damn it, bro, he fucking killed this role. It was amazing. I loved this movie. Okay, so I guess we'll do a rundown. I guess it's like 2012, I believe, is when this movie came out. Basically, Judge Dredd is the main character. He's a vet of this judge. The planet, this is like apocalyptic. Everyone's pretty much holed up in these big towers. I think it's called like Mega City or something like that. And there's like towers around this big city. They're like 200 levels tall. And that's pretty much where everyone lives. They're divided into sectors. And the only thing that's keeping the peace is these judges. And one of their high-ranking judges is Judge Dredd. Movie begins. He's suiting up. So technically, he's not even, that's the only scene where he doesn't have his helmet, but it's shrouded in like darkness. So you still don't see his face. He puts on his uniform and then he puts on the helmet and you don't see Karl Urban's face for the rest of the movie. And basically he gets assigned this rookie who has, I believe they labeled her a mutant. She can read minds. So she's a psychic, which is rare because I believe they mentioned that there are mutants, but they're kind of like deformed or like they come out like just weird because of like the radiation or some shit like that. But she looks pretty much normal other than the fact that she can read minds. And we learned that her name is Judge Anderson. She is a mutant and her parents died of radiation when she was young. So she was taken in by the judges, and now she is trying to be an actual judge. So this is like her assessment day. So she gets to, work under Judge Dredd. They get called to this homicide where we then find out who the main bad guy is. And to my surprise, it was Cersei from Game of Thrones. Good to see her here. Much younger. This is like, again, 2012, so it's been a hot minute. So that was a fun surprise. And it starts off with her pretty much establishing that she's that dog. She got that dog in her, because she just throws 3 guys, skins them, throws 3 guys off of this 200 level building. And before she does that, though, she's like a drug kingpin. So she is like developing this slow-mo drug. So when you inhale it, time feels, I think they said like 1% of normal speed. So you're going like, you could be falling down 200 levels, but it feels like you're there like for days just falling. And that's brutal, because you're like feeling all that. And so then they see these bodies. It's bloody as hell. They definitely lived up to that R rating. This is kind of where I get to probably my only real negative of the film. It does suffer from that age, from 2012. It's the CGI isn't quite the greatest. I get what they were going for like the stylistic effect of when you inhale like that slow-mo drug. It feels a little, wonky. The blood, I feel it's a little too bright red at points. I'm like, I feel like you can do a little better, but I'm willing to overlook it, because it is from 2012, so it is what it is. So basically he gets them two, they get stuck in that building. When she finds out that they're there, she puts that whole building on lockdown, and the entire movie is just them shooting out this big gang from the bottom level all the way to the top. Is essentially what this movie is. It was nonstop. You get to see her powers, Judge Anderson's powers, in effect at certain points. At one point, they call in for backup when they finally make it outside, because, of course, when it gets locked down, there's no communication. A big firefight happens. They break a hole through like the building. They get outside, but they can't really escape because they're like on the 100th level. So it's pretty much jump and die, or go back in and try to shoot your way out. And they chose the latter. And I guess she also has some. I think it was 4 judges that were under her control. So they were gonna do that job to kill Judge Dredd and his rookie, or a million or something like that. And he just proceeds to shoot them all down. And finally we get to the top. He takes the gamble, like a fucking boss. She puts on this thing where if her heartbeat, stops, the entire floor from her, like I think she said 50 floors, just like blow up. So what he does is like, I'm willing to take that chance, shoots her in like the abdomen, and then pushes her through the glass, makes her inhale the slow-mo drug, and pretty much kicks her off that top floor, and you just see her falter to her death. And he's like, yeah, I'm willing to bet that that the range on that is way further than 200, or is shorter than the 200 levels that you're gonna fall. And he bets correctly. I was like, all right, boss move. And it ends with pretty much him saying, yeah, my rookie passes. And she doesn't know that, because she gives in. She's like, I was disarmed, so it doesn't even count. And she's pretty much, she leaves defeated, knowing she's probably not going to be, passing, and not going to be an actual judge. But he says, yeah, she passes, and the movie ends. It's pretty straightforward. Start at the bottom, make your way to the top, and movie ends. But, a whole lot of action. I do got to say that, a whole lot of action. But I mean, this is not going to be like this cinematic masterpiece or anything like that, but damn it, I had fun with it. So my final score for this was an 8 as well. Yeah,
Pretty good month, boys. Pretty good.
it was a pretty good month.
Fun fact: that was the first R-rated movie that I ever remember watching.
Really? So I'm the only one that hasn't seen it.
I watched it with my dad like 2 years after it came out on Redbox, and it started, and he looked at me because it starts with like a skinning. He's like, "Are you too young for this?" And then, you know, parents are getting divorced. What's he gonna do? Not spend time with his son? Hits play. We watched the whole movie. So
Nice.
it was wild.
Nice.
The first one that I remember turning off was Predator, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator from like whatever that was.
Mm-hmm.
The first like 5 minutes, they say fuck like 80 million times, and he just turned off. He's like, "Yeah, you're not old enough yet." I don't remember how old for that one. That was the first R-rated movie that I remember starting, and him and I were watching. But you know, they had a good marriage at that time, so we turned it off. So.
Alrighty. Okay, time for assigning the new ones. Just since I went last, I'll go ahead and assign Josh his new film. And like I said prior to the recording, I'm still debating on which one to give you, bud. But I know I got to choose one of these.
I'm also in that dilemma.
Man,
for real, this month might be the hardest one.
I have three. I have three that I feel like you're gonna like, but I'm like, which one though? Which one do I give you right now? And I feel like one's too similar to maybe the last two that you've done, so that's gonna eliminate that one. Okay, I'm gonna just give you this one. Josh, have you seen Children of Men?
Children? I don't think so, but I always have to. I have not. No.
Okay. You are assigned Children of Men.
Okay. Well, since I just got assigned mine, Blake, I got a lot, man. Between 5 movies.
Oh,
that's a shit ton.
5.
What the? That's like a whole list, buddy.
It is. All right, it is. But I think after hearing what you just watched and how intense that was, there is a chance you may have seen this movie, and if it is, then it's gonna have to be a quick audible. Have you seen We're the Millers?
Yeah.
I was gonna say it was a good comedy to come back from.
Yeah, I mean, come on. That was in the prime of watching every movie that came out.
Okay, well then do I give you a movie where you've said a couple times you haven't seen it yet, or do I give you one that is an out of nowhere that I know you haven't seen, but has some people in it that I know you like? I'm gonna do that. Have you seen The Devil All the Time?
Oh no, I have that on my list though. I do have that on my list, but no, I have not yet.
Holland and a few others.
Yeah, it's
I
in
think
Netflix. I have that in the
Sebastian
queue.
Stan too.
That's in the queue.
All right, there you go.
There we go. That solidifies that I need to watch it now. Alex, I got 2, so a little less than 5. Man. You know, I'm gonna do the other one. I'll save the other one for another time. But I think this is just a movie. At some point, someone had to give it to you just because the fact you haven't seen it is kind of wild. We gave you half of Barbenheimer. You need to finish it. All right. You need to officially see Oppenheimer. That's just a movie that you've got to see.
All right. Oppenheimer it is. It's time. Okay.
Yeah, that was one that I've been sitting on for a while that I'm like, at some point, someone has to. There's no way you can not see Oppenheimer.
Okay. I'll watch Oppenheimer. Okay.
So there we go. That is our 3 movies passed around. We'll see how long until the next video is. If it'll be a while, I'm sure we'll forget who gave what. So that'll always be interesting. But as always, let us know in the comments below if you saw any of our reviews or any of the ones that somebody's going to watch. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.